Welcome everyone to the introduction webinar of our DASA's Intelligent Continuous Security ICS product suite. I'm very excited to tell you more about that product suite today with a few other great folks that are joining this webinar. Before we go to introducing them, I'd like to share a few housekeeping rules. Of course, this recording will be made available to anyone not being able to participate right now. We are open to all kinds of feedback, questions, comments about this session, about the product suite. If you have any questions or feedback, contact us through info@dasa.org or visit our website for more information, www.dasa.org. With that being said, I'd like to focus on three great speakers I've with me today. Allow me to introduce them one by one. Siddharth Parikh is the open source program office and DevSecOps engineering lead at NetWest Group. As a strategic leader driving global technology outcomes, he has led enterprise-wide transformations by fostering inner source and open source adoption across 20,000 plus engineers. His expertise spans security, resilience, and DevSecOps, ensuring engineering goals align with business objectives. He has a deep focus on collaboration, accountability, and innovation, and he enables organizations to embrace sustainable change and continuous improvement while advancing modern software security and reliability. Next in line, Kumar Singirikonda. He's a director of DevOps engineering at Toyota. He is very passionate about driving organizational success through the transformative power of technology. Kumar is a strategic leader with a robust background in DevOps, data ops, cloud engineering, software engineering, edge computing engineering, edge AI, and security, to just name a few. He also serves on the advisory board at the University of Texas at Austin's McCombs School of Business. He's also on the board. He's also a board director for Gift of Adoption Funds, part of the editorial board of CDS Magazine, and is also a member of the advisory council for Harvard Business Review. He has been nominated to CEO World's magazine's Executive Council and serves on the Innovation Advisory Council and the Technology Practitioner Council, Data and AI. And with all this, he still also found time to offer the DevOps Automation Cookbook. And then last but not least, Mark Hornbeek. Mark is a recognized thought leader and practitioner in DevSecOps and continuous security. He is the architect and the lead author for DASA's product suite on intelligent continuous security that is featuring today, and we will properly introduce now. He's also the author of the acclaimed books Engineering DevOps and the DevOps Continuous Testing, Quality, Security, and Feedback. Mark specializes in helping organizations integrate security seamlessly into DevOps and SecOps practices. He has decades of hands-on experience, and his innovative frameworks and guidance empower organizations to achieve secure, agile, and also high-performance digital transformations. He's also awaiting the launch of his next book on intelligent continuous security by O'Reilly. I would like now to give the floor to Siddharth to start explaining how information security nowadays is, how important it is nowadays for basically every enterprise, and why it is important to invest in this capability in the first place.
Thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar, the Intelligent Continuous Security. So we're talking about security challenges that we face daily. So we have all seen security marketed as a solved problem. Just buy the right tools, automate a few things, and you're safe. The reality is, security today is an operational bottleneck, fragmented across teams and often an afterthought. And that's exactly why it fails. 86% of the breaches are financially motivated. Attackers aren't just hacking for fun, they are running a business. Average time to detect a breach 248 days. Think about that. Your systems could be compromised for over half a year before anyone even notices. The SOC analysts deal with 10,000 alerts per day on average, and no human can process that volume effectively. So, if we already know these challenges, why aren't we solving them? Well, the real problem is that these security gaps aren't just staying the same, they are getting worse. So we love to talk about shifting left in security, but attackers aren't waiting for us to catch up. They are shifting right faster. One new vulnerability is discovered every 17 minutes. Exploitation time has shrunk from 63 days in 2018 to just 5 days now. Meanwhile, organizations still takes 100 plus days on average to patch critical vulnerabilities. So let's put that in perspective. Attackers have weaponized vulnerabilities before most organizations have even filled a ticket to fix them. And that's the scale of the gap we are talking about. But here's the bigger issue: our security isn't even designed to handle this pace of change. And this is why security needs to evolve. So, the irony of DevSecOps is that it focuses so much on securing the software pipeline, but the real battlefield is the production, and that's where security today is the weakest. 60% of the breaches involve vulnerabilities that were known but unpatched. The average time to contain a breach is 70 days. So attackers aren't just getting in, they are staying in. 77% of the organizations rely on manual security process. So that's not just inefficient, it's irresponsible. So if we know vulnerabilities are being exploited faster than ever, and we know we are still relying on an outdated security models, but let's get specific. Where exactly are these problems happening? Spoiler alert, it's not where have we been focusing. So, most organizations think that their security risk come from outside actors. In reality, 82% of the breaches involve human error, misconfigurations, or poor access controls. $4.88 million, that's the global average cost of a breach in 2014, and it's still rising. Cloud misconfigurations account for 19% of the breaches, yet cloud adoption is 94% in the enterprises. Only 14% of the organizations actively monitor their production environments for real time threats. So it's just not about how fast we release softwares or how many security checks we run in CI/CDs. It's about what happens after deployment, where the majority of the damage actually occurs. But here is the problem: the attack landscape isn't slowing down to give us time to fix this. In fact, the challenge is about to get even worse. Now, security dev works like your technical debt. The longer we delay action, the more costly and dangerous it becomes. So, for example, the global cybercrime damages are projected to hit $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. Ransomware attacks happens every 2 seconds globally. AI-powered cyber attacks are increasing at the rate of 300% per year. Cybercrime as a service, yes, interesting, has grown into $1.5 billion industry. Attackers now sell exploits like your SaaS products. Think about it. Attackers today don't even need expertise, they just need a credit card. Meanwhile, we are still debating on the budgets for proactively security measures, and that's the real risk gap is. And if that wasn't bad enough, let's talk about the cost of doing nothing, the cost of status quo. Now, the security isn't just an IT problem, it's a business survival issue. And the cost of staying stagnant is staggering. 65% of the organizations experience brand damage post breach. Reputation loss is often more expensive than the breach itself. Ransomware payments have exceeded $1 billion annually. Shadow data is involved in 33% of the breaches because organizations really don't even know what data they have. So organizations that proactively invest in security are saving around $1.76 million per breach. Yes. So the question isn't whether security should evolve. The question is whether we can afford it for it not to do so. So what's the path forward? So it's time to really stop playing defense and start being proactive. It's time for intelligent continuous security. So, if I need to close this from my end, we are not just fighting malwares or hackers. We are fighting inefficiencies, outdated models, and a mindset that security is just another compliance checkbox. If attackers can use AIs, automations, rapid innovations to scale threats, why aren't we using the same to defend ourselves? So it's time for intelligent continuous security, not just more tools, but a shift in how we approach security altogether. Okay, with this, I'll wrap up and thank you so much. Over to you, Kumar.
Thank you, Siddharth. It's a great insights. Um, let's talk about the DevSecOps. Many organizations already use DevSecOps to integrate security into development. But what happens when they want to extend security into operations? The typical response is to adopt SecOps, the security operations. SecOps integrates security within IT operations and infrastructure management. It includes automated incident response, threat hunting, and tools like SIEM, security information and event management, and SOAR, security orchestration, automation, and response. It also promotes collaboration between IT operations and security teams to reduce risks in live environments. However, there is a challenge. SecOps often operates separately from development, creating silos that go against the seamless integration that DevSecOps aims for. It also focuses mainly on operational threats, missing security risks earlier in the development lifecycle. So there are other challenges too. Manual process slow down response times, siloed tools and teams create inefficiencies, and there is a limited automation and scalability. So these challenges show the need for a better approach, one that connects development, security, and operations seamlessly. That's where DASA Intelligent Continuous Security comes in. But we will get to that shortly. Let's first look at some real world examples of why this matters. Let's talk about three major incidents that changed the cybersecurity world. First, the SolarWind attack in 2020. This was a supply chain attack that compromised the Orion software update, distributing malware to thousands of organizations. The impact was massive. Government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, and security um, and firms were affected, enabling widespread cyber espionage. Next, the Log4j vulnerability in 2021. This was a zero-day vulnerability in Log4j that allowed remote code execution, impacting millions of applications. The result? Mass exploitation leading to data theft, ransomware attacks, and even cloud service takeovers. Finally, the Move It transfer breach in 2023. Hackers exploited a zero-day vulnerability in Move It transfer, stealing sensitive data from major organizations. This led to massive data breaches, regulatory investigations, and operational disruptions across industries. These incidents make one thing very, very clear. Cyber threats are evolving faster than ever, and traditional security measures are no longer enough. While it is impossible to stop security threats from evolving, but it is possible to prepare for them. Organizations need a better approach to security, one that is proactive rather than reactive. Imagine a world where security is seamless. It is built into every step from development to operations and maintenance without gaps or delays. Teams work together smoothly to reduce risks at all times. Advanced systems instantly detect vulnerabilities and offer clear solutions. Predictive analytics and artificial intelligence optimize security process, stopping threats before they happen, and decision making is faster, more accurate, and based on real-time data. Security adapts as the business grows or changes. Here, the security boosts the efficiency and innovation instead of slowing them down. Teams understand why security matters, leading to fewer breaches and less downtime. This is not just a dream, it is achievable. But how does it compare to what is available today? Let's compare options. Let's break it down. Traditional training focus on reliability but does not cover the full security life cycle. Consultants bring expertise for specific stages but do not provide ongoing oversight. DIY approaches are scattered and inconsistent across teams. When it comes to staying ahead of threats, traditional training struggles to keep up. Consultants offer advice but no real time defense, and DIY methods fall behind against AI driven attacks. To make security a business enabler, traditional training treats it as a compliance task rather than a growth driver. Consultants may suggest alignment strategies, but execution is left to the client. DIY methods often treat security as an afterthought, leading to inefficiencies. The total cost of ownership varies. Traditional training is moderately priced but offers a limited value. Consultants are expensive, while DIY approaches seems cheaper but become costly over the time due to inefficiencies. AI-driven security optimization is rigid with traditional training, scalable but costly with consultants, and dependent on limited internal resources with DIY approaches. Finally, implementation support is missing in traditional training, customized but expensive with consultants, and unreliable with DIY trial and error methods. Clearly, these options does not fully deliver. So what's the best solution? What if security worked in real time, constantly learning and adopting? What if it evolved as fast as the threats? This is not just a possibility. It is exactly what DASA Intelligent Continuous Security ICS delivers. ICS is built for the real world where cyber threats are relentless and the stakes are high. It is not just about responding to attacks, it is about staying ahead of them. How does intelligent continuous security compare? Let's see how ICS measures up. It secures every phase development, deployment, and operations, eliminating security gaps and ensuring a seamless approach to protection. Unlike traditional methods that treat to threats, ICS is designed to stay ahead of them. With AI powered automation and predictive analytics, it identifies vulnerabilities before they can be exploited, making security proactive rather than reactive. More than just a proactive measure, ICS transforms security into a business enabler by integrating seamlessly into workflows. It reduces risk while accelerating innovation. It also lowers cost by minimizing breaches, automating security risks, and reducing manual effort. As business grow and evolve, threats are evolving, ICS scales up effortlessly, adapting to new challenges and technologies without disruption, providing continuous support, automation, and intelligence-driven security. ICS removes gaps and guesswork, ensuring organizations stay protected at all times. Simply put, it represents the future of cybersecurity, seamless, proactive, and empowering. Thank you. And now I will hand over it to Rick.
So DASA is an industry body. We serve as a trusted partner for organizations worldwide to navigate their digital transformation journeys. And we provide a structured approach to help organizations build the skills, leadership, and the operational frameworks they need for real transformation. Ranging from certification programs to practical guidance and structured frameworks, DASA empowers teams and leadership to execute change effectively. And organizations that partner with us, they move from digital ambition to execution. They transform not just their technology, but also their ways of working, team structures, and leadership mindset. And we at DASA always emphasize that digital transformations are very hard. They're always unique and they require investing in lots of capabilities and balancing. It's a balancing act to invest in a smart way in all these various types of capabilities. And on this slide, you see a number of key themes that we believe are very important to invest in over time to become what we call a high performance digital organization. And our DASA portfolio is centered around these themes. And as you see, we don't have a dedicated theme around security, but as you will understand after this webinar, security is an integrated capability that touches various of these themes because it relates to people, process, and technology dimensions, of course. Our product suites are trusted by all kinds of organizations globally, as you will see here on this slide. Many of them might be familiar brands. Some are transformation partners, some are training partners, several are enterprises who have adopted DASA's know-how in forms of talent and guidance products in one way or the other, and or they participate by leaders and subject matter experts in all the various communities that we invest in. It's great to see this adoption growing by the day, and I hope, of course, that you and your organization will benefit in a similar way by entering the DASA body of knowledge in our ecosystem. And let's zoom in then on the ICS product suite that we will present in a second. Before I give the floor to Mark, let me position it in the wider DASA portfolio. Here we have visualized how intelligent continuous security, how this product suite fits in our total portfolio. We thought second half of last year that a dedicated product suite on intelligent continuous security was warranted because of the key issues that are only increasing in many enterprises, as Kumar and Siddharth have highlighted by now. Doing nothing is no option. And in this visualization, I compare this product suite to a few other core products that we have in our comprehensive DASA portfolio. As you will see at the bottom of this slide, we have a DASA fundamentals program. And in that program, we focus on foundational concepts, principles, and practices that are crucial for building a high-performance digital organization. So it covers the basics of Agile and DevOps, but also basics on all kinds of other elements from a culture, leadership, process, and governance perspective. And security is mentioned there as well as an important quality attribute, or in other words, non-functional requirement that organizations need to take care of nowadays. But it's not treated in that much detail. So it was important to have a dedicated product suite to provide a more deep and comprehensive treatment of the subject matter. That is what you see at the top of this slide, the DASA ICS product suite that we launched and introduced today. So if you're really primarily interested in this capability in an integrated, intelligent manner, you should opt for the ICS product suite. But in addition, we see also some overlap with product suites that we already introduced earlier in the last few years. Because security is not a topic you can treat in splendid isolation. For example, in our platform engineering product suite that we launched in the second half of last year, there's a lot of focus on AI-powered automation and infrastructure standardization, which is, of course, also part of ICS. This is why there's some overlap in this visual. In a similar vein, the SRE Next Gen product suite that we actually also launched in this first part of 2025 focuses on creating resilient, scalable platforms for reliability. It also needs a proper treatment of security principles and practices. So there is an overlap with the ICS product suite as well. And last but not least, the DevAIOps product suite that we started working on last year and will tidying it up in the coming weeks is also benefiting a lot from security principles and practices. AI in CI/CD practices, for example, is very relevant, but you want those integrations and automations to be secure. In the end, all these product suites together help boost the implementation of the know-how and is building a set of capabilities to create high-performance digital organizations with security, automation, resilience, and efficiency at its core. And determining where to best start for you and your organization depends on your specific maturity, of course, your status quo, and your ambition. Where does it hurt most, for example, or where is it most urgent to act first? With that positioning being done, I would like now to give the floor to Mark to explain in more depth everything around our ICS product suite.
Thanks, Rick, Sardith, and Kumar for your clear introductions to the intelligent continuous security landscape in DASA. I appreciate the opportunity to work with DASA and to create this product suite together with the team. The next slide introduces ICS and what it is and how it is different from DevSecOps and SecOps alone. This slide introduces the scope of ICS as compared to SecOps and DevSecOps. Despite the name, DevSecOps is really focused on security practices to prevent the release of vulnerabilities, but doesn't really inform about security practices after software changes have been deployed to production. On the other hand, SecOps is focused on defense against exploits of a vulnerability once they're in production. It doesn't really inform very much about security practices prior to deployment to production. So neither DevSecOps nor SecOps practices inform very much about the joint DevSecOps and SecOps practices during the deployment practices. So there's a disconnect between DevSecOps and SecOps, which leaves a security gap. ICS addresses those gaps by deliberately bringing together DevSecOps with SecOps, and the next slide will introduce how ICS leverages AI to facilitate the integration of DevSecOps and SecOps to improve the end-to-end security posture. What makes this all possible is the emergence of AI. It's a key part of what helps ICS stand out and why it's a viable solution. First, ICS embeds AI-enabled tools across the development and operations tool chains. It integrates security into every phase of the software lifecycle, ensuring that more vulnerabilities are identified and addressed before they become problems. And second of all, ICS is both proactive and predictive, adaptive. It does not wait for issues to arise. Instead, it anticipates them with AI and predictive analytics and insights all the way from production and fed back into development, ICS helps identify and mitigates risk before they escalate. Thirdly, real-time monitoring is an integral part of the system. ICS offers continuous visibility into all of your environments, whether they're cloud-based or on-premise. It ensures that threats are detected and addressed as they happen, so your teams are, they stay ahead of the game. Finally, ICS delivers automation at scale. It handles the repetitive and manual tasks, significantly reducing workload and minimizing errors. This allows your teams to focus on the strategic initiatives rather than being bogged down by the routine tasks. The next slide will explain the key components of the Intelligent Continuous Security product suite, bearing in mind that ICS is not just a security solution, it also is a business enabler in the sense that it ensures resilience, fosters innovation, and prepares your systems to thrive in an AI-driven culture. So the DASA Intelligent Continuous Security product suite has two major products. The value box is the first product. It provides transformation enablers to help organizations transform to ICS mastery. For example, the value box includes a transformation roadmap and transformation tools to support the transformation processes for all levels of ICS maturity to any higher level of ICS maturity. This includes a leadership and alignment workshop and other tools to help leaders and practitioners determine and set a strategic vision for the transformation. A team alignment workshop helps leaders engage their transformation teams for applications to map the strategic vision to actionable goals for each application. The organization maturity assessment includes tools to discover the current state of the application's practices and gaps between current gaps and practices that need to be developed in order to achieve the transformation goals. The value stream workshop provides guidance to determine the current state of an application's value stream and to determine a target value stream map that is a key part of guiding the solution design. The model application playbook provides an example of a transformation and implementation for different classes of applications, and the expansion playbook explains how to operationalize an application and how other applications can adopt it. Meanwhile, the certification program, which is the second product in the DASA Intelligent Continuous Security product suite, is a 2-day program which includes talent development for principles and processes, AI-driven threat detection and response practices, automation aspects of security across the software lifecycle, and how to unify SecOps with DevSecOps to provide more of a seamless end-to-end risk protection profile. The next slide will explain why and who can benefit from the DASA ICS product suite. The ICS certification program and the ICS value box are designed for anyone involved in security risk protection. The certification is especially targeted to develop skills for those leaders and practitioners that need an in-depth understanding of the ICS practices. And meanwhile, the ICS value box is targeted to leaders and transformation teams that are responsible to implement the transformation of the organization towards whatever level of ICS mastery they decide to do. The next few slides will explain this in more detail. So we've so far introduced the high-level goals of the ICS value box, and the next slide will explain in more depth how it actually works. So we'll spend a little bit of time on this slide. The ICS value box is built around a structured, proven transformation approach, which is documented in several my published books. It's called the 7-Step Transformation Blueprint, and it's been applied successfully to many transformations in large enterprises and others. In this case, we're applying it to ICS, of course. So the framework ensures security maturity and avoids many of the typical pitfalls that organizations run into by applying leadership, teams, and processes while systematically integrating and aligning across the entire life cycle and all of the teams involved. So step one, leadership visioning, has to do with leadership getting together and building a foundation, a strategy for the overall transformation. So this is supported by a set of practices called the Leadership Alignment Workshop, ensuring executives can understand and support principles and providing an overall guiding document to guide the rest of the transformation process for the entire organization. Step two is team alignment. In this case, the transformation team for an application gets together and translates the strategy to the particular application's requirements or peculiarities. Every application tends to be different. So that's an important step to align the strategy to the application. Step three is discovery and assessment. So in this case, there are several tools involved to discover the current state of an application through surveys, something called a practices gap assessment. The course and the ICS itself has 8 pillars of practice. So all of those practices under each of the pillars are part of the assessment. And then current state value stream mapping is to, again, try to understand the end-to-end value stream and where there can be security gaps and improvements. And finally, a maturity assessment to help people understand where is the organization relative to overall maturity and goals for the organization. There's also some interviews in there that happen. And step 4 is where we actually create a roadmap or an implementation, plan, basically, where the roadmap defines a structured plans. This includes things like themes, epics, stories, tasks. And part of that is to build a future state value stream map as well, kind of a visual of what the target solution should look like. Step 5 is called realize, which means basically realize an actual application that satisfies those requirements from step 4. So in this case, you're literally building the solution. This may happen in iterations, of course, but the idea is that the realize step is not finished until you actually realize the implementation. Step 6 is to operationalize that application. So to make sure that, once you've validated the application works, then you want to make it sustainable, expandable, and operate and be worthy of scaling to full-scale operations. That's supported by a model application playbook that shows you how to do that and some tools associated with how you do that. And finally, step 7 is where you expand the application for use with other applications. So you essentially have built a kind of a model application at that point, and now you want to expand it across the whole organization, which may have many other applications. So there's an applications playbook that will help guide that process as well. So that's basically the whole 7-step process, which the value box covers in detail. In fact, it's also covered in summary format in one of the modules in the certification course. Okay, let's go to the next slide. That was the longest one. So let's dive a little deeper into the certification program. Let's talk about how it works and how it applies and answer some questions that I know some people have had about it. One of the first questions I often hear is, how does the certification program stack up against other types of, approaches for learning about security and this area of both security in operations and security in development, the DevSecOps and SecOps. So I'm not going to walk through every element on this slide, but in general, the DASA Intelligent Continuous Security program compared to a traditional DevSecOps training and SecOps training has really 4 areas for comparison, at least on this chart. The idea that DASA's program is really about the entire life cycle, while DevSecOps is more about practices for prior to production, while SecOps is more about post-production and in production live service defense. And the next area is real-time threat mitigation, where DASA really emphasized the AI and predictive aspects while integrating across the life cycle, whereas DevSecOps talks about integration with CI/CD, but doesn't really talk about integration too much with the security and production, and SecOps is kind of vice versa. So this is a key differentiator. Also, the level of proactivity and reactivity, if you like, with the ICS program is designed to be very interactive, where you have interactions going on between production and development much more, whereas again DevSecOps and SecOps, there's not as much of that. And then seamless collaboration, certainly DASA program explains how to encourage and implement collaboration across the entire life cycle, whereas in DevSecOps there is and in fact it's a bit of a myth that DevSecOps, because of ops is in the name, it sounds like it should cover a lot of interaction with ops, but in general it hasn't really worked out that way. That hasn't really been the key focus. It's more about collaboration within the development area and occasional input from security. And SecOps kind of the opposite, where it's more about collaboration within the production environment. So that's kind of the general comparison. We can dive in a little deeper on the next slide. Yeah, so there are many security frameworks around the world. I think I counted the other day 110 for different countries and different sections, and even different areas. Some of the popular frameworks are the SOC 2, they call it. NIST is a very popular framework in the US, and others adopted as well. Within Europe, which I know is a key audience for this presentation, there's NIS 2 and CRA. There's also ISO, which is somewhat international, 27001. These are targeted security frameworks, mostly focused on governance and operations, whereas ICS is a broader scope. And ICS operationalizes security across DevSecOps and SecOps, really focusing in on AI and together with automation and continuous security monitoring. The next slide will go into further detail about that. I mean, bottom line is, as it says on the slide here, ICS enhances compliance, reduces security risks in real time, strengthens security resilience by operationalizing end-to-end security practices across the traditional governance framework. So it definitely applies to governance, but it's not only focused on governance, in other words. All right, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, this is just a comparison of some of the things that are covered in the ICS program in terms of frameworks, and broken down from the point of view of the NIST framework, because it's probably the most well-known and best documented framework that is there. So the ICS technology framework, aligns 13 different what's called security frameworks, because there are lots of technology frameworks within security, and it maps them to the 5 different NIST security categories. So identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. You can see here that things like threat intelligence, vulnerability management, these are all technology frameworks for security and how they map into those different areas. So again, the certification program covers in depth all of these things, which if you're not already, I find most people are understanding some of them, but it helps get a broader view, and the certification program covers that. All right, next slide. This is definitely an eye chart, but I'm not going to go through the details of this chart. We just don't have time, but you're welcome to refer to it as a kind of a reference. It's more of a comparison of the certifications, not the frameworks, but rather the actual, very well-known certification programs, and how does ICS stack up. ICS doesn't pretend to be a substitute for some of these other courses, depending on what your particular interests are. But it's it definitely adds a lot of value in the context that we've already talked about. And so some of the popular ones, probably the most popular certification is CISP, certified, the second one on the list. And you can see where ICS differentiates itself by being very strong in things like AI and automation. It includes a lot about the DevSecOps and SecOps aspects, whereas CISP is more focused on governance aspects. And the other, I guess, key differentiator is a summary of the last column. It says bridges the gap between DevSecOps and SecOps. None of these other frameworks do that explicitly, and the fact that it focuses on AI and security automation is a key differentiator. So again, I'll leave this chart with you for your own perusal later. So this chart is even more of a eye test, if you like. And again, I'm not going to go through all of the details on this chart, but this chart is really comparing ICS to a variety of popular security frameworks. Again, there are hundreds of them out there, but the most some of the ones that I've had questions about recently because of the European audience were, how does it compare to NIST2 and CRA? So ICS, if you compare the last two rows to the first one, you get some idea of how to use this chart basically and how they compare in that particular case. So ICS is really about security transformation and AI-powered threat detection, continuous compliance. NIS2 is really about compliance and avoiding penalties. CRA is more about enforcement of security products in particular, and of course, particularly products that are sold in the European Union. Both NIS2 and CRA do encourage automation. ICS, it has it as a core capability and principle throughout. There is some commonality in the sense that NIS2 and CRA do include CI/CD integration and DevSecOps, actually better than some of the other security frameworks that are out there, partly because I think they're newer. Again, NIS2 is more compliance focused, and CRA is more security focused. In general, NIS2 is particularly useful for critical sectors. It's aimed at particular sectors: finance, energy, healthcare, telecom. While CRA is more focused on product vendors. ICS can apply to all of the above. So it's, I think, in some ways more comprehensive than NIS2 or CRA, but they're definitely complementing each other. And certainly if you were to take an ICS certification, it's going to help you with these others as well. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so, after completing the ICS certification, there are a lot of things that you will have learned, right? Expanding the current security threat landscape to the foundational concepts beyond just SecOps and DevSecOps, how gaps occur in those frameworks, and how those gaps have led to issues in the real world, and the development of ICS was based on trying to address some of those things, so that you learn about that. You learn about how to summarize the ICS framework, focusing on its unified approach and highlighting how it builds on the principles and practices of prior frameworks. Applying technologies to implement ICS, including AI, and how they're integrated into an interworking system. Applying ICS capability maturity models, measurements, and appropriate measures of prevention, detection. So you learn a lot about measures, analyzing typical challenges in the transformation process, and it'll explain how to actually transform your organization to to whatever level of ICS maturity you decide you want to accomplish. And the bottom line is, you can evaluate strategies for sustaining and evolving ICS practices as well, because we're in a world of security requirements changing fairly frequently. So evolution and sustaining is a critical part of the whole program. Okay, let's talk about the next slide. So this is a summary of the modules of the course, the certification course. There are 6, as it shows here. First of all, it talks about the foundations of DevSecOps and SecOps, and also the foundations of intelligent continuous security. And then there's a module on the fundamentals of ICS, how it works, what are the key practices and pillars of practice. Then there's a module on talking about the technologies of ICS, including AI and how those things get integrated. The 4th module has to do with measures of progress. So how do you decide about what their metrics are going to be? What are the possibilities there? How to use them? How to implement them? Module 5 is all about transforming to ICS, all the practices for actually accomplishing an ICS solution. And finally, sustaining and evolving ICS as the last module. So it's pretty comprehensive. It takes you through the whole journey of building an ICS capability and learning about it. Let's go to the next slide. So the bottom line is, ICS certification can be delivered on site in the classroom or virtual environment. It's a 2-day program of instruction. The certification exam is taken after the class, but there are a lot of challenges and quizzes as part of the class as well that are interactive. The exam consists of 40 multiple choice questions, and the learner is allowed up to 80 minutes to answer those questions. A minimum score of 65% for learners and 75% for trainers is required to earn the certification. It's proctored. It's a proctored session. Anyway, I hope you learned a lot about the DASA product, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have contributed to this with DASA, and look forward to seeing some really good results, and most importantly, see improvement in security profiles for a lot of organizations that we can help them with through DASA. I'll now turn back the presentation to Rick, and to wrap up this webinar and introduction session. Thank you.
So now that you've heard a lot about our product suite, our certification program, the contents of the value box, all the various guidance products that you can leverage to build the right capabilities and start going from ID to implementation and action, it's good to share what we see happening in many enterprises that contact us or benefit from DASA's know-how. There's typically a kind of roadmap for adoption that you can consider, as highlighted on this slide. For example, a simple 3-step plan would consist of assess, equip, and transform. In the assess phase, it helps to do a maturity assessment, to conduct this assessment to identify gaps, risks, and opportunities in your current security practices. This helps ensuring a clear understanding of your starting point, but also highlighting the areas that need immediate attention. In a second phase or second step, you can then move beyond this initial assessment, and you can gain access to DASA certification program, the toolkits, and the workshops that are designed to build a more robust, continuous intelligent security strategy. And these resources empower the skill building in your team and equip your team members with the right frameworks and tools they need for successful implementation. And then in the last step, we call it transform. It helps to put best practices into action to achieve more continuous security, cost optimization, and efficient and scalability. You can drive measurable results by integrating intelligent continuous security into your organization's culture and operations. in that last phase. And in each of the phases, of course, you can apply in a smart way the various elements of the product suite that we have introduced today. So to sum this up, I think by adopting DASA's Intelligent Continuous Security product suite, you'll empower your teams in multiple ways. For example, you can enhance threat detection and prevention through anomaly detection and behavioral analysis. You can focus on improving supply chain security by enforcing zero trust architecture and your software bill of materials for safer dependencies. You can accelerate detection and incident response with real-time monitoring and automated response mechanisms to minimize breach impact. Fourthly, you strengthen forensic capabilities using AI-enhanced forensics and proactive threat hunting for efficient investigation and remediation. Next, you should and can continuously improve your security posture through predictive analytics and automated patching, adapting to evolving threats. And last but not least, you will increase your visibility in collaboration with unified security dashboards and threat intelligence sharing to ensure more seamless coordination throughout your enterprise. So this is a mouthful, but I think it's worth emphasizing that the ICS product suite delivers all kinds of values that would bring you in much better shape, in more control of dealing with this very important topic. And to get started, I'm happy to announce that there are a few things that we have come up with for you. Because by now you are probably convinced, and some of you might be very eager to start and ask us questions like what was happening with previous introduction webinars. Where can I start? How do I get access? There are 3 things that you can do right away. And for each 3, go to the QR code, scan the QR code, and you go to a page which brings you to a form to leave your contact details, and we'll reach out to you. The first reason to use the QR code would be to train yourself and or your team on intelligent continuous security. We offer a 50% discount on the early adopter runs of this certification program. So don't wait too long. First comes, first serve. Second option would be that you empower your IT and transformation leaders, because often to get things started or get them to a next level of maturity, you need leadership to buy in and to be involved. So we have, as Mark introduced, a leadership alignment workshop, which is a very helpful instrument there. We gave a 50% discount on the leadership alignment workshop if you are one of the first organizations who let us know. Third option would be that you partner with us in any way. Maybe you're working in a training company or a consulting company, and if you're interested in becoming a partner or an enterprise member of DASA, we will happily work with you to prepare your trainers, consultants, sales, and leadership to build your own internal capability building about intelligent continuous security, but also enable you to leverage this towards your customers. Okay, that brings us to a close. I would like to thank you all for participating, and if you have any questions, let us know. And very excited to work with you all on this ICS product suite. See you soon.